Yep, that's me, and thank you for having us tonight. Fabulous food. We can't get a food truck to turn up to our place just down the road there. We're old and not very cool. But, you know, maybe some of the Richmond Valley silicon thingo will rub off on us, and we'll be able to have that as well. So we've been given 15 minutes each. I shouldn't piss around. We were asked to kind of have a reflection on our time in this digital thing, and again, I read a tweet, woke up to a tweet this morning that said, there's this company that if anybody says the word disrupt or disruptor or disruption during a meeting, everyone stands up, leaves the meeting room, waits 60 seconds and goes back in and starts like nothing was said. So I'm going to be very careful to avoid the D word here because it's rather overused to some extent. So we won't talk much about disruption. So we'll talk about the D for digital thing, and I count myself as this is my 15th year of being digital, and I learned a few things in that time. So here's the 4 main lessons of being digital from Nigel Dalton. So rule number 1, embrace the back end of the horse. And that might sound a little obscure, but that's wisdom that comes from my cousin's wife, Barbara Dalton. And my cousin's in IT, and the family moved around a lot. 2 CIOs in the one family, that's kind of weird. But they kept moving all the time for different jobs. And Barbara's point, she was a very, very wonderful person, very flexible, school teacher, but a passionate amateur dramatist. So, you know, theatre and singing and all, she's wonderfully talented. And the dilemma was you'd go from having the lead role in the local amateur dramatic society to being the arse end of the horse when you moved to the new town. And that was the way in to her passionate life of amateur dramatics, was to just go, you know what? I'll be the best fucking arse of a horse ever. And then I'll get a better part, and then I'll get a better part. And it's an amazing philosophy, and if I had to summarize my career, that's a pretty good way of doing it. You know, I came to Australia in the 90s to be the PowerPoint jockey on a merger. You know, that was the bad end of the horse for sure. But Australians soon forgave me, and away we went. And that, in terms of digital, don't despair. You might be the back end of a horse today, but there is every chance you'll get to the front of the horse, you know, have the head and the eyes, and maybe you'll get a singing part in time. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is, I'm going to nick from William Gibson, the future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed. And I'm going to add to William Gibson, that's like in the 80s, I'm going to add to that the kind of thing, actually, I got to tell you kids, the future's been here for a long time. So I love doing this at work, and I'll demonstrate it here. So virtual reality, right? Who's had a go on the Oculus Rift? This room has to be full of Oculus addicts. And the Samsung Gear VR, they're awesome, aren't they? Amazing new technologies. Well, you can imagine the surprise on some of my 20-something-year-old staff when I produced for them an Oculus Rift of 120 years ago. And they're going, well, that's not possible, because we're the millennials. We invented everything. And I said, well, take a look at this. And what I have here is a 120-year-old stereoscope made of wood. 2 lenses, separates it out, your brain recomposes the photograph inside it. And I mean, as soon as photography was discovered, must have been some accident with a lens, they discovered you could see things stereoscopically. And then I really seriously proceed to fuck with them. So we take the cardboard thing out. And we get the iPhone out. And we go to the zombie game. And it sets up like that, and we put the zombie game in the 120-year-old thing. And I'll pass it around so you can have a go. Don't drop my iPhone. I'll pass that around. Come, Kate, you want to grab it? Or somebody grab that? Grab those 2 bits. Have a go at that. Now, the iPhone, I'll grant you, the millennials can have, but virtual reality, put that to your eyes and turn your head around. Yeah, there you go. Got to get it in focus. Take the glass off. 120 years old. And Then to really fuck with their minds, I take this out. 5 years old. This is a 1967 one, very kind person gave me to remind me. The Viewmaster. It's like, yeah, the future really has been here for a very long time. What took you so long? And of course, an evening wouldn't be an evening without actually getting the real thing out and having some actual fun with it. And but yeah, rule number 2. William Gibson had it right, but in fact he also forgot the time thing. A lot of the future's been around for a very long time. So good luck inventing it, but don't forget to look in the past for what might be there. Rule number 3. So it's lovely tonight to see a whole bunch of Lonely Planet diaspora here tonight. They're an incredible community of people who worked in Footscray. So we had to get to know each other because there was no food anywhere within 3 kilometres of the place, and people got mugged on the way to the bus station. So we are a close-knit community, and it's lovely to see them turning back up in the digital world and all over the place. And I get to work with a bunch, and Blake here tonight's one of those. So the Lonely Planet lesson is simply this. If anyone ever says, well, nobody will ever, and just fill in what you want to there, resign and do a startup on the exact thing they're sure nobody will ever do. Because I worked at a company, and we all did, that used to make amazing travel guides. And I brought one along. So you'll be familiar with that size of travel guide. Amazing, absolute, stunning, huge, how hard-worn that one is. We've all probably got, no, actually, looking in this room, your parents have all got one of these at home on the shelf. And the thing, the way that was said in our workplace was, what we're absolutely sure of, Nigel, is that nobody will ever walk down the street holding a mobile phone like this. Because that's ridiculous. I mean, they're going to get beaten up and have it stolen. I mean, it's a $1,000 computer. How's that going to be? Never. And so instead of inventing products for this, and that was, by the way, that was the phone I turned up at Lonely Planet. What went wrong? We kind of missed the iPhone thing a little bit. The first one was horrible, by the way. If anyone remember, they're now 10 grand for a packaged iPhone 3G. 10 grand. They were horrible. No battery life, the phone didn't work, the screen resolution was terrible. And yet, what a revolution. So we had these things, and we honestly believed nobody would ever walk down the street with a phone doing this. I challenge you to go to Soho in London and find anyone walking down the street not doing this. That's the challenge. So that was a harsh lesson in life, and that's why we're all here tonight looking for jobs. Nigel's digital lesson number 4. Mr. Thomas was right. So who's Mr. Thomas, you ask? Well, Mr. Thomas was my math teacher in year 12. And apart from disgracing him by scoring 49 in pure maths, it was a big disappointment to him, he did teach me one of the finest philosophical lessons a math teacher could ever teach. And that was, he gave us this. Now, for the young people, this is called graph paper. And that's Microsoft Excel before we had Microsoft Excel. The little squares, you drew graphs on them. And there was no select, range, graph, pi, blah, blah. You drew them on there, right? And that's half a piece of graph paper. And Mr. Thomas said to us, children, I can't do his lovely Welsh accent, children, what is this? And we were all smart asses. Oh, well, it's a piece of graph paper. And somebody might say, oh, well, it represents the blank slate of existence, etc. They're clearly going to do an arts degree at university. And eventually, after torturing us for 10 minutes, which I won't do because I don't have that time, he explained what this was. He said, those squares are a millimetre square, and every one of those, if it's coloured in as a day, is the life of a 72-year-old. And I want you now, children, to colour in your 16 or 17 years, while I colour in my 49 years. And we looked at his, and he'd coloured it in up to about here, and went, oh, sucked out. Look at us, we're down here, we're immortal. We've got shitloads of time to do. And I keep colouring mine in, and you know what? I'm 51, and I'm up to there now. And it's like, you know what? Every single time I colour in one of those squares, it's about what am I going to do tomorrow to make a difference to the world? And that's my lesson. That's lesson number 4 is you'll never find any graph paper. They don't sell it anymore on that scale. And this would be a hell of a Microsoft Excel. But think about just, if you're colouring in one of those every day, just make it the biggest difference you can make to the world. And there you go, the 4 rules from Nigel.